Hey folks, welcome to Bear Mountain today. We're going to do something a little bit different regarding how we make some cuttings of some new fruit trees. So let's take a look. Well, it's winter time and things are dormant. So what we've got going here is a fig tree that has a whole lot of suckers that we're going to be pruning out. But the interesting thing about these guys is when you start looking at them is you can see, let me do a little bit of focusing here. You can see that there's bud tips on these, and what we're going to do is we're going to make new fig trees out of these, and it's really easy to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these basically sprouts, and we're going to cut them back down to about 12-inch. And as you can see, I'm kind of like trying to do this at the same time running a camera, so I'm a little bit awkward. So what we got is we got a nice 12-inch basically pruning of it. We'll cut a whole bunch of these guys, probably about 20 of them, and that'll be the basis of our sprouts. Okay, so what we're doing today is these are called hardwood cuttings. So basically this is dormant wood, but it's from the first year, so most of this stuff is still, it's got a lot of energy left in it, but it's not so totally green that, you know, cold weather would harm it. But instead of going through the standard process of you know, cutting these things up and dipping them in rooting hormone or something of that nature, we're just going to do a really basic, simple thing. We're going to band these guys together of approximately the same length, and we're going to put them in groups of 10. And I've got two groups here today, so it'll give me 20 possible starts. And we're just going to band them together with a rubber band, and then put it in our compost pile, you know, the one we raised potatoes in this last year, and bury it. And that way, and come springtime, these guys will be just about ready. They should have roots on them or be calloused up and be ready to pot up to grow on a little bit more before they go in the field. So the ends of these guys, I didn't do anything fancy to them. I just snipped them off, and they're roughly, it looks to be they're probably about 16, 18 inch. Now, this is, you don't have to be this long. I just kind of did it this way because I'm a bit lazy. But what I'm going to end up doing is burying them up to about here, which is going to give me about a good 10 inches. So somewhere along the line in here, these guys are going to root. And if the weather gets bad, what we'll do is we'll just throw some mulch over the top. So we're not really too concerned, you know, with getting really fancy, putting them in pots and all this stuff, and how many will actually root. My experience has been you can get anywhere from 60 to 80% will give you, you know, a good rooting. So that'll be, you know, if we get 60%, we're going to get somewhere around, you know, 12 good fig trees out of this, which is really pretty easy. You can do this technique with all kinds of hardwoods, or even things like rose plants and things like that are dormant. It's the same idea, and this is January, so we're sticking them in the ground to, you know, let them do their thing for about 3 or 4 months, and then come April, you know, when things start to bud out, that's when we'll check to see if we got roots, and we'll plant them up into pots. Okay, so here we are. This is an old compost pile, and what we're going to do is we're not going to get fancy, lay some of these weeds on the top. They'll just be there. Not going to worry about it too much. I'm just going to want to get a nice hole going, and the idea is that the hole, this is what we'll stick the cuttings in. We're going to do not only fig trees this year, but we're also going to be doing some grapes, because we got some great table grapes that we'd like to propagate on and start a new arbor. So I'm digging down pretty good. This is really biologically active soil because it had compost on it. So there it is, stuck in the hole itself, and you can see it's sticking out the top by probably a good 10 inch. And you know, I'm not going to get fancy. I'm just going to kind of tamp it in around it. I may pile a little more compost around it, and then we'll just do the other one pretty much right next to it, right about here. I guess we'll get these guys both buried in. So this is it. It's basically, we got them buried in about a foot, and then I threw a few inches on top of some rotting wood chips that we've had laying around for the last few years. And this is it for the winter time. You know, unless we get into an extremely, you know, cold snap, you can just kind of see that the tips are out about 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches. And down below we have a like amount or better for exposure to rooting. The neat thing about using this method is, you know, you don't have to worry, you don't have to get fussy. You just put a lot of them in and you'll get a percentage of them out. And that's kind of the way it works. Instead of, you know, using a lot of greenhouse space and heat mats and, you know, all kinds of things, this time of year it's just really easy just to go in and just, you know, do a bunch of them, stick them in a compost pile or someplace, you know, where you got good biologically active soil, and that the moisture level will be you know, consistent, and you'll get a lot of rooting. You don't need to use fancy root powders or things like that with this method. Now, rooting hormones and things work much better with softwood cuttings, things like we did on the mums, and you can check videos that we've done that like that. We've done that in the past, and that's really effective to use with softwood cuttings, or even semi-softwood cuttings like you would do in late summer, like on hydrangeas or something of that nature. But these guys all, you know, they're dormant, and so the only really biologic activity that's going to be going on is going to be the incentive to put roots on. So that's it for a kind of a blustery winter day, something easy to do. You can, like I said, you can do this with all kinds of things today. We did it with fig trees. We're going to do grapes, and we're going to do some roses. We have some roses, landscape roses we'd like to propagate that are not on patent. That's the main thing about this, is don't do cuttings on things that are patented, plant patented. Meaning there's still royalties to be with that, and that somebody went through a lot of effort to breed those things, so you got to respect that. But this is for basic things that are out there, you know, apple trees, fig trees, any kind of tree, this will pretty much work on, with the exception of maybe like eucalyptus. Don't bother with eucalyptus because it's kind of an evergreen and it doesn't really work that well. But these kinds of guys should put out some roots, and like I said, we'll get maybe 60% of them, so it'll work out great. So just thought we'd share that little hack with you. Don't sweat it, it's not hard to do, just takes a few minutes, and you know, in a place on the property where, you know, you're not worried about it during the winter time, and you get something out of it. So anyway folks, stay safe as always, stay healthy. We'll catch you on the next video. Bye bye.